From the burning of Troy to the end of a U.S. trade ban with China, here are 5 things that happened on this day. Troy was sacked and burned. It's June 11th, 1184 BC. The long-running Trojan War has come to an end. After fighting over the course of almost 10 years, the Greeks have finally taken over the city of Troy. According to Homer's Iliad, the Greek victory came when the clever Odysseus and his men hid inside a giant wooden horse. They pretended to be leaving the city. The Trojans, believing the Greeks were departing, pulled the massive horse through the gates of their city. However, during the night, the Greeks snuck out of the horse and opened the gates for the rest of the Greek army. In the ensuing battle, the Trojans were slaughtered, and the city was burnt to the ground. Now, it's important to note that there's a lot of debate about whether or not the Trojan War and the events described by Homer actually happened. Many historians believe that there was a real city of Troy located near modern-day Istanbul, but its destruction didn't happen in the way Homer described. For example, excavations at Hisarlik, which is believed to be the ancient city of Troy, show evidence of fires from around 1300 BC, 1250 BC, 1180 BC, and 1100 BC. These fires may have been caused by earthquakes rather than a Greek invasion. There's also some skepticism as to whether the Greeks even used a Trojan horse to take the city. This famous tactic may have been created by Homer for literary effect only. Unfortunately, since the destruction of the Library of Alexandria, most original accounts of the Trojan War have been lost. So we don't know the full story behind the war or how exactly Troy fell. The U.S. ends its ban on trade with China. It's June 11, 1971. Richard Nixon has decided to lift the United States embargo against trade with China. This decision is a significant step towards restoring relations between the two countries. The U.S. had placed restrictions on trade with the People's Republic of China shortly after its creation in 1949. In particular, American policy prohibited any exports that could contribute to the growth of Chinese industrial or military capacity. This included items like steel, chemicals, and even agricultural products. While the U.S. imposed these bans, the Soviet Union and China became allies. This made Nixon wary of the growing Sino-Soviet partnership. He would later describe the relationship between the U.S. and China as a combination that could change the entire political alignment of the world. To counterbalance the Soviets, Nixon initiated the process of opening up diplomatic relations with China. In February of 1972, Nixon met with Chinese leader Mao Zedong. During the meeting, they discussed a wide range of topics from nuclear weapons to trade. Although Nixon's visit seemed to go well, talks would drag on for another 9 years before formal relations were established. When trade relations did eventually begin, they were far from equal. The U.S. had a large trade deficit with China, meaning it imported much more from them than it exported. Over time, though, the deficit has grown and continues to increase. Today, the U.S. imports billions of dollars worth of goods from China every year. First women promoted to Brigadier General in the U.S. Army. It's June 11, 1970. 3 women are promoted to the rank of Brigadier General in the U.S. Army. They are the first women ever to achieve this level of rank. All 3 women had served in the Women's Army Corps, now known as the Army's Military Intelligence and Security Command. Timothy McVeigh, executed for the Oklahoma City bombing. It's June 11, 2001. Convicted terrorist Timothy McVeigh is executed by lethal injection. McVeigh's execution brings to a close the legal proceedings of the Oklahoma City bombing, a deadly attack that killed 168 people. On April 19, 1995, a truck bomb exploded outside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City. The blast caused billions of dollars worth of damage and remains the deadliest attack on U.S. soil since September 11, 2001. A 3-year investigation into the bombing led to the arrest of McVeigh, Terry Nichols, and Michael Swango. The trio were members of a far-right anti-government group called the Order. It's believed that the group carried out the bombing in retaliation for the 1993 Waco siege. That incident saw the deaths of 80 members of the Branch Davidian religious sect. McVeigh was found guilty of 15 murders and conspiracy and sentenced to death. Nichols was also convicted of the same charges and sentenced to 161 consecutive life sentences. For his role in the bombing, Swango received a 5-year sentence but was later released. Since he testified against Nichols, McVeigh's execution brought to an end the criminal trial portion of the Oklahoma City bombing, but the impact of the attack is still felt today. Many victims continue to deal with health issues related to the bombing, while others still seek justice for those who died. Italy declares war on the Allies. It's June 11, 1940. Benito Mussolini announces that Italy is at war with France, Britain, Belgium, and the British Empire. The following day, Italian forces will invade France from the west. While the nation was already allied with Germany, this declaration officially makes Italy a member of the Axis powers. Shortly after World War II broke out in 1939, Mussolini declared that Italy would remain neutral. He hoped to take advantage of the conflict by trading with both sides. However, as the Germans began winning victories across Europe, Mussolini grew impatient. He wanted to join the fight and expand Italian territory. By entering the war, Mussolini believed that Italy could claim portions of France, which it hadn't controlled since 1866. However, the Italian campaign quickly fell apart. Within weeks, the British had taken control of Italian Somaliland and Ethiopia. Meanwhile, the French were able to fend off the Italians in Libya. As the war dragged on, the Italians suffered a number of devastating defeats. One of the worst occurred in June of 1940, just 1 month after declaring war. It was the Battle of France, a confrontation between Italy and the British near the town of Caransebe's. An estimated 20,000 Italians faced off against 12,000 British troops. The Italians were heavily outnumbered, yet they managed to defeat the British, killing hundreds of enemy soldiers. This victory came at a cost, though, as thousands of Italian troops were also killed. In fact, more Italians lost their lives during the Battle of France than during the entire Spanish Civil War. Italy's performance in the early stages of World War II was so poor that Mussolini would later claim the war had actually started in 1943. The Battle of Jargeau begins. It's June 11, 1429. French and English forces clash at the Battle of Jargeau, beginning a 10-week siege. The battle is part of the 100 Years' War, a long-running conflict between England and France over control of the English throne. By the early 15th century, the English had gained control of much of northern and southern France. This included the city of Jargeau, located south of Paris. Jargeau was a strategic location, so it was important for the French to take back the city. To accomplish this, they turned to Joan of Arc, a young French peasant girl who claimed to hear voices telling her to drive the English out of France. Making her way to the French royal court, Joan convinced them to let her lead an army to retake Jargeau. On May 19, 1429, Joan and her men began marching on the city. The English, expecting the French to attack, had set up a series of defensive fortifications. These were designed by renowned military engineer Thomas Tye, the same man responsible for designing the castle at Caerphilly. Despite the defenses put up by the English, the French continued their assault. As the French got closer to the city, the English grew increasingly worried. On June 11th, the English commander ordered his men to attack the French and prevent them from encircling the city. This began the 10-week-long Battle of Jargeau. The English forces were better equipped and trained, but they were also significantly outnumbered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check more content on our channel and don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like.